On today's episode, we're discussing why, unlike other jobs, do we need to show up early for work.
The Fireground Company Podcast.
All right, Cap, we're back. And today's episode is something a little different. Essentially, you need to get something off your chest. So I'm just going to get out of the way and let you have at it. What do you got?
I feel like I'm supposed to make some big grand statement, and it's not all that, man. It's just something that struck me. So one of the newer guys was almost late for work, and it made me think, of course, how important it is to show up early for work in this job. And does he know how to make sure he gets up on time? He's been getting to work on time, but does he really know to guarantee it? And it sounds silly, but does he? So first, make sure you get up early and build in that buffer time. That's where it starts. You need to have a little bit of buffer time. And what I mean by that is aim to get to work about an hour before it's supposed to start. So, example, like our shift starts at 7. So I aim to get there at 6. I think that hour, that buffer time does a lot for you. So, people are asking, well, what does it do for you? Why do I can show up at 6:30 or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you can, but maybe you wake up a little late. So if you wake up a little late, yeah, you have a little extra time, right? Maybe you have an issue with your car, flat tires, stuff like that. Or on the way there, I had something crazy where I was driving into work, and it was the fall, and it just started to rain. It hadn't rained in a while, so road's kind of slick. I wasn't going real fast, but there's kind of this little bit of a sketchy turn, and I had bad tires. I should have known this. And I could feel the back of my car, the tires losing grip, and my car spun. I did on a major highway. I did a complete 360, and then car stalled out. I thought the car was going to flip, and it just glide to the side of the road. And luckily there was no one else around me. And you kind of have that moment where something happens and you start checking yourself, feeling like, my arm still here? Is my head? Or, and then I drove probably 10 miles under the speed limit the whole way to work, because I was so sketched out after that, almost feeling like my car was going to flip over. But it's an extreme kind of outside the box situation. But you get the point. If you have a general issue with your car, like a flat tire or some kind of mechanical issue, it allows you to maybe figure something out. At the very least, give the heads up to whoever you're relieving, and however that works with your chain of command. Or other stuff is you got to stop at the ATM. I know everyone's using whatever, Venmo and all this. We're kind of old school with the cash and everything else. But if you got to stop at the ATM, or of course, is traffic bad? So, those are all just a straightforward, pretty much list of things that, hey, you need to show up early. And that leads into the next question of, how do you make sure you get up early? And this is where I think this is what he wasn't doing, I believe, if I remember, is he didn't have a whole thing of alarm clocks and everything else. And some people are going to say, maybe I'm overboard, but I've never been late. So it works. The way I usually do it is I have, my first alarm clock is next to my bed. It's something plugged into the wall. It's the first one to go off. This is the time I want to get up. I like to get up early, kind of get myself together, get a shower in the morning. I know everyone sometimes gets them the night before, whatever that is, whatever the time, your normal time where you're not rushed, you can get up, get yourself together. That's what you set your first alarm clock at. And that's, again, next to my bed in case I hit snooze or something like that. That's the first one. The second one I have that goes off is 15 minutes or 30 minutes later. For me, it's 30 minutes because I like to have an hour. I get up in the morning, shower, all that kind of stuff. But regardless of how that is, just have it go off at a different time. And the reason I say that is because what'll happen is, I know people that have done this, or I've done this myself, where you hit the first alarm clock and then the next one goes off as a backup, but it's at the same time. So you're in the same space of being groggy, and you just turn that off, and now it's off. You got nothing. So that's why I say at least have that 15 minutes later, because that way, if you hit snooze on one, you're not gonna you're not going to hit the other one because that one's still, or if you turn it off, if you turn the first one off, I guess is more of what I'm talking about. You turn the first one off and you're not doing a snooze, and it's not going to alarm again. At least you have this other one. And I usually put that across the room. So that's something I have to get up out of bed and wake myself up. And then the third one is I just have my cell phone. I know a lot of people use that as their primary, but I use my cell phone, and because it's independent of any kind of power, and I set that another 15 minutes or 30 minutes, however you do it. That's pretty much that third one that I use on my cell phone that's get up. I need to go. I need to leave right now. So, I mean, you can do that. Again, I know it may seem silly to some guys, but people show up late and they don't have a plan to make sure they don't show up late. So if you're using all your phone and a whole bunch of different alarms, at the very least, have them timed differently. But I really recommend, having 3 or at least 2 different, alarm clocks, whether that's your phone and another one you plug in, just something as a backup. And then, of course, you have all that going on to get you up. Have your stuff ready to go, man. Have your, if you wear your uniform into work, have that ready to go. Or if you're, wearing your regular clothes in, have that ready to go. Just have your stuff prepared so you're not rushed, especially if you get up, a little later.
Sounds like quite a production in the McLean household. How does your wife feel about all those alarms going off?
She's a trooper, man. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
She sleeps through it. But I know it sounds crazy. I'm just telling you, it's important to show up for work early. So
like you said, you've never been late.
Yeah, I'm really trying to hammer that home. So I like being prepared. So you may call me crazy, but it works.
All right. Well, let's get to the principle of this. Why do you think it's so important to get to work early? Why isn't on time good enough?
Well, again, I mean, I'm talking about an hour. So shoot for that hour, and it gives you time for a lot of different things. So, you show up, gives you time to get your gear ready. Make sure your gear is ready to go. Make sure everything is in it that's supposed to be in it and with it, and you have all that set. So it gives you an opportunity to do that where you're not rushed, right? And if you're detailed out, it also gives you time to pack your stuff up. Not only your gear, but your other personal items, bedding, all that kind of stuff. It provides you with time to get that all together because, sometimes you don't know maybe the day before that you're going to be detailed out. So you want to have time to get that ready to go. And it helps mentally transition into the job, I think. You're going from family life or your personal life into this world of immediate action, stress, everything else. And it gives you that kind of, whatever that is, that mental transition into the work world. So I think it just helps kind of ease into things. And it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you're in the middle of changing the gear over, relieving someone, you get a call. It is what it is. But I think it can help. And it also, think about the other side of that. So the other side is the shift that you're relieving. Maybe they were taking a beating last night. They had a long day. They had a fire or something. They didn't get much sleep, all that kind of stuff. Ran a whole bunch of EMS calls. Whatever's going on with that, if you get there early, that's relief to them. That's like, all right, they got me. So that's nice on the other side of that you may not see as a benefit to yourself, but it is in a way because it helps your reputation by relieving the other shift early. And it shows you take the job seriously too, right? Because you're getting there, you're going to be prepared, and you can be counted on. It's a simple way to show that. The other thing is if you're running late, the fellas notice because you don't show up at the last minute. You usually show up at 6:00, and now it's like 6:30. So they look and they're like, was he working anywhere the night before? And like, no. So they start calling. I mean, I know this happened to you once. You had an issue with your alarm clock or something, and I remember we started calling your house, right?
Yeah.
You just it
was technology failing because that's what it does. Yeah,
of course.
It was some weird thing with like I don't know, sleep schedule or something. And my phone decided that I needed more sleep. And so it set my alarm later for me or something weird
Okay.
like that. I made it to work on time
You did, but
because my third alarm clock woke me up, which is my wife.
also you had the time built in too.
That's right.
So, so it pays off. And part of this too is, so this is the thing, right? Everyone has people that don't relieve early, and it's irritating, especially for the people that do show up early. And I've, heard things. You can play this game where, man, this guy relieves me at 15 minutes before the shift starts. So you know what? I'm going to relieve him 15 minutes before the shift starts. That usually only hurts you. One, makes you look bad. Maybe you miss a call with your guys coming on. Maybe you miss a fire, something like that. It just, and now you're rushed. If your stuff isn't ready to go, there's a problem with your gear. Maybe something changes where you're on a different piece of apparatus or you're detailed out. Now you're the one creating problems. So may feel good in the moment. Long term, it's not the solution. And typically those people that relieve at 6:45 or whatever it is, whatever the later time is for your department, they don't care. They don't care, and you're not going to change them by showing up at the same time they show up. So do the right thing for everyone else. Do the right thing for yourself. Show up early. Be ready to go.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, but for me, and you sort of touched on this,
Yeah.
there's sort of a transition that needs to happen when you go to work. You transition into the world of the fire department and you start to get locked in a lot of ways. I mean, showing up early to work is a tradition that we uphold. It's something you do to show your own standards and how seriously you take the job. And it's also, as you mentioned, something you do for the fellas, for the other guys that are getting off shift, that you can be reliable, that you're going to be there on time. And, to the other guys on your shift, that you're on time, you're getting set up, you're ready to go. By the time the shift actually officially starts, you're already locked in, So any other thoughts on showing up early?
Well, I mean, it's an easy win, right? It's an easy thing to do to show you're bought in, and the culture we talked a lot about previously. It's an easy win, man. Just take the easy win. You're bought in. It shows you care about the other guys. Like I said, the relieving of the other shift, and it's a good reflection not just on you but your shift as a whole, right?
Mhm.
So if your shift has like 4 or 5 people that are showing up 30 minutes before and maybe 1 or 2 that are showing up an hour before, that's not a good showing for your shift. And fortunately there's only so much you can do to control that. But if there's a guy that we had another guy recently that he was usually an hour before guy, and he went to another firehouse, got in some bad habits, and he came back and he was in this whole 30 minutes before thing. It was becoming the standard time he shows up, and we kind of, sternly reinforce pretty much, man, you're better than this. Show up an hour before. You used to do this. You have no excuses. We all have our issues, kids, family, everything else, and we do it. So you can do it. Anyone can do it. So, it's an easy win, man. I'm all about the easy wins, especially early in your career. Do the right thing. Make sure people know that you can be counted on.
Yeah. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. Show up to work early. It's not only about logistics, it's about character. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by the podcast. Check us out at firegroundcompany.com. You'll find links to all our social media accounts and our YouTube channel, and you'll stay up to date on everything we're working on. We also have a store on our website where you can support us as we grow this community, plus working on some great courses to help you strengthen your leadership in the fire department and support its traditions and culture. Last but not least, subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating, leave a comment, spread the word, get this out to the firefighters who are hungry to make the job even better.
So my father-in-law, he was a Secret Service agent, and I really like my father-in-law. He's kind of an old school guy. He loves to talk, and he's got a couple of like good old phrases that I like, and one of which is my favorite is "knock around guy," which I'm sure I'm going to talk about in future episodes. But anyway,
I already like it. I already like that term.
Yeah, knock around guy.
Didn't tell me anything about it, but I like it.
Yeah, we'll bring that one back. But anyways, he loves to ask me about my job because we've kind of got a connection, both being public servants of some kind, I guess. And he told me in the Secret Service, when they relieve somebody, they call it pushing. And he always says, yeah, you know, if the guy had been on for a while, you might try to push him a little early, stuff like that. So he says to me one day, he says, you know, you ought to see if you can get that to stick at the firehouse. So I kind of like the term. I like that it comes from the Secret Service. You know, I love like Secret Service films, like In the Line of Fire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm thinking, oh, all right, Secret Service, that's cool. So the next day at work, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it a whirl. So I see the guy I'm relieving, and I'm like, hey, brother, I'm here to push you. And this guy looks at me like, what the f*** did you just say to me?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, say it again. I said, I'm here. I'm pushing you. And this guy just stares at me with this like confused look. And I finally, I'm like, all right, I'm done. I got you, brother. So anyways, the next time I see my father-in-law, I say, hey, man, I tried using push. I said, turns out after a long night, guys don't want to be pushed. They just want to be relieved, which he thought was pretty funny.
Yeah. I guess it's just it's not that didn't fit into the culture.
No,
that didn't work.
Didn't take.
Like we said, you tried it. Now it's time to move on.
Yep, that's not. We have our terminology. It's in our department. It's relief, not pushing. But little tidbit for all you listeners in the Secret Service, they call it pushing.
The Fireground Company Podcast.